situation, then please go, and or you need advocacy or anything like that, please definitely go and support that event. She's going to have awesome speakers to be able to share with us as well. So, Cheryl, what is your opinion of the UK education system regarding black children, and what advice would you give parents whose children are in school? And again, if you're home educating, because again, we're doing this whole community family thing, so even if you are home educating, you can still use this information that you're going to hear now to pass on to parents whose children are in school, so that we can all do this job together. Again, teaching our own is a community battle cry. We all need to start teaching our own children and supporting and empowering all parents around us to take back control of our children's education. So, Cheryl.
I think the UK education system in itself, right now, it's not working. It's working, but it's not working. And I say that, put it closer, oh yeah. I say that because when our children, before they even start school, academically, and even in primary school, academically they do better than anybody else. We know this. But the problem that I find, and doing what I do in the education system right now, it's like a prison camp. If your child needs to go to lunch, they need to use their fingerprints. If your child is not meeting certain grades, they say they've got ADHD, or they say they've got some sort of mental disorder, rather than actually seeing that maybe a family member has passed away, so they're not really concentrating. Or maybe they haven't had breakfast that morning, so they need something to eat. So they quickly are quick to label your children. So right now, schools are a business. They're not there as an establishment for education, so to speak. It's a socializing place. That's what the school system's there for. It's there to socialize your children. Nothing else, really. Because like we're here today, we can home educate. I think it is fragmented. I always, like I said before, the first thing I say to parents is, can you home educate? Because the system is getting worse, unfortunately. And this is not to dog out all schools, because there's some amazing schools out there, because I do work in some of them. But how our children are treated in these schools, it has a long-term impact on how they behave later on, and people like my brother Twilight, they have to come and deal with them because they've decided to go into gangs. They've decided to basically be shot in, and sometimes not even deliberately, they're being bullied. So the school system isn't working for us. We do need our own schools. I'm a firm believer in that, but we unfortunately talk a lot but don't actually do anything to change that. And until we get there, and as long as our children are in these schools, we need to be clued up on how we deal with them. We need to actually, because I speak at the National Union of Teachers Conference, and when I tell these teachers who are teaching your children the blatant and direct discrimination that a lot of children are facing in schools, they're absolutely shocked. This is both white and black teachers. They're astounded as to what I'm saying. And when I break it down, they're like, oh, I didn't actually realise that was what could be classed as discriminatory. And it's like, but you've chosen this child. Why? What makes them so different? The only thing that is left is the colour of their skin. And that's the reason why I have the black child agenda. And I'm very unapologetic in that stance, because no one is supporting black children. The Asian community have theirs, as we always say, the Jewish community have theirs, etc., etc. So who's standing up for our children? Me. Anyway, and what was the last bit of the question? What advice? Can we get a round of applause just for that, please? That was awesome right there. What advice would you give parents? What practical advice would you give parents whose children still are in the school system? First rule, keep a log of everything. Create a logbook, whether it's on a computer or in writing. Every day when your child comes home, not interrogate, but get the information out of them. Just a quick story, I was working in a school not far from here last year, and this little boy, 8 years old, beautiful young soul, and I kept noticing that he would sit by himself, head down, and then I went in to do a session in their classroom. So the whole class is sitting there, but he's sitting down way over there looking out the window. I'm like, but why is he sitting down by himself looking out the window? The deputy head kind of mumbled something, I don't even know what she said. And I goes, well, the class can't start until he's sitting here with everybody else. Do you know that boy? I was doing something on Black History. Every single picture I put up on the screen, he knew the answer to. Marcus Garvey, Malcolm X, Harriet Tubman, he knew the whole thing. So it baffled me. All of a sudden they said he's got ADHD. They're having him diagnosed for ADHD. But what I noticed was the difference in how they treated this one child. But what I started doing was calling him my star pupil. You're my star pupil. And every day, you know, this boy's head actually picked up. So that just gives you a slight, and his parent didn't know, and that was the thing. I'm like, I need to see the parent. I would love to wait, and I'd wait late outside the school to see if I see, but he used to do football afterwards, and I had another engagement. So I never got to speak to his mum and find out, when you speak to your son at the end of the day, what does he say about what he does at school? Does he tell you that he sits down by himself 9 out of 10 of the times? Because if we're not picking up on these things, and it just becomes normal for him to sit there by himself, not engaged, no one pays him any mind, then that's going to be his normality, and he will know no different, and he's not learning in there. So I'd say keep a log of everything, every single thing, dates, times, and then any calls you get from the school, you make sure you send an email to back it up. Thank you very much for your time today. Just to confirm X, Y, Z, A, B, and C, because they do lie. And if you have only a telephone conversation and say that you said this on the phone, they will blatantly deny it. I've sat down in meetings and heard it myself. So just keep a log of everything as much as you can, and make sure you go through any appeals processes necessary. But we'll get onto that a bit later.
Thank you, Cheryl. Would you also recommend that, because like I know when you're an employee, they also recommend you keep a kudos file as well. So when it comes to like disciplinary, if someone's done something, like you've upset the management or something like that, and they want to try and fire you because they say you haven't done your job properly, it's also a good idea, they recommend to employees, keep a file of every single time they send you an email saying good job on that, well done on doing that work. So anytime, because I know a lot of parents have said, every time I ask you about my child, you're telling me my child's doing good. I tell up a parent even make sure my child's in the lowest grade and they're about to get expelled. So what happens to all of those? So would you recommend would that stand as much weight, like keeping a log of all the positive stuff they said in case they...
It's quite interesting because you very rarely hear from the school unless it's negative.
Yeah.
You only really hear from them when something goes wrong, but you don't hear the good stuff. The interesting thing I always say to all parents, get a copy of your child's school file. Some schools are quite cheeky and charge you £60, but yeah, they do. But you're entitled to it. You can just send them an email. You can only do it in writing. Ask for a copy of the school file. Some schools don't want to give it to you. Yeah, they charge you for the photocopy. Oh yeah, that's right. You can actually send in a memory stick and get them, and then pick it up at the end of the day. Some schools don't want to give it to you. Like literally, I've got a parent where we had to actually write a letter by our solicitors to get the school file because of what the school were actually doing, and it wasn't documented properly. But that's got everything about you, everything about your child, and even the Sims. Do you guys have Sims in your place? The Sims report. Oh my gosh, if you guys were to see what was in the Sims. That is actually managed by
What's the Sims?
The Sims is the same people that run the fingerprint technology for your child to get their school lunch, which is also linked to the police database, by the way. It's also run by Serco, who are the database owners of and the creators of Sims. So even when you come to school, what you're wearing, how you speak, communicate, if you're taking notes, how you're dressed, if you're late, if you're not, everything. And then that's why I say to people, don't chat your business. Oh my gosh, I've just gone through a divorce with my husband. That's not their business to know. Anything they say to you, do you know what, I'm going to take it home and we will discuss it. Don't let them know nothing about you, because all of a sudden, then, yeah, single parent family, there's probably going to be problems, probably drugs in the home, the assumptions are already made. But The Sims, as I was saying, is designed and run by Serco. Serco are the same people that take people to jail. And also the same people that have a private invested interest in pupil referral units, which are PRUs. So, as you can see, when I say the Black Child Agenda, tackling the schools to prison pipeline, you can see why it's called that, because the schools to prison pipeline is a clear and direct line, which is why you should just take them out and educate.
Thank you, sis. Thank you very much, Sister Cheryl. We'd like to now welcome Brother Leader Mandaka, so we give a warm round of applause for our brother from the Al-Qiba land. Thank you very much. Would you mind just taking a moment to introduce yourself to the audience, please?
Which are words in the Shona language of Zimbabwe, which means we thankful unto God. Very powerful African words, beloved brothers and sisters. And just to say, I'm Brother Leader Bandaka. I'm the spiritual leader of the Al-Kebulan Revivalist movement. We are a liberation movement based on an African-centered spiritual cultural philosophy called Al-Kebulan Liberty, which simply means living according to the divine teachings and traditions of our mother culture. And a fundamental part of our work is the education of our children and our young people, and we expend a lot of time and energy and resources in organizing to empower our children through education for liberation. So I'll just leave it there for the moment. Tendai Mwari.
Okay, so if we could ask Brother Neil Myers the same question. What is your opinion on the state of the UK education system for black children, and what advice would you give parents whose children are still in the school system? And just to let everyone know, we're going to aim to wrap up the panel discussion. Wow, there's a lot of people in here. I'm sure we're breaking some fire safety rules right about now, but we appreciate your support. We're going to wrap up this panel discussion by 5:15, so that we've got plenty of time for everyone to go and support the stalls, check out the stalls, buy your last minute food, and then grab some time, form an orderly queue to grab some time with these experts and any of the speakers today, and definitely start networking between each other as well. Talk to people, get people's numbers, start organising co-ops, start organising meetups, start organising after-school trips, do whatever you need to do so that we can leave here better than we came in, more nourished and informed than when we came in, yeah? Okay, can I get your word on that? We're going to do that? Yes, okay. Thank you very much, Neil, if you could answer that question, please. Thank you.
You know what I love about these events is that they will ask you a doctoral thesis question and expect you to answer it in like 60 seconds. What's wrong with the British education system? Alright, so... Alright then, close, how's that? Alright then, okay, so, as short as I can. Yeah. If you wanted a 5G television, if there's such a thing, and someone offered you a 4G television, you'd be like, alright, it's still a television, it's gonna kind of do the job. If someone offered you shepherd's pie, when you wanted cottage pie, you'd be like, okay, that's kind of similar. I see what you're saying, I can eat that, it's alright. The thing about the education system is, and Brother Leader would have said this first if he had had the mic first, but the word educate is what we've got to go back to, because everyone talks about it like they know what they're talking about. The word educate comes from the word educere or educare, which is Latin. Alright? And that means, let's put my hand up. That means to bring out. Okay? Everybody in here who's been in the education system here, when you've been in school, it's been all about putting in. We'll tell you this, tell it back to me on exam day, and you'll get 4 marks. If you've got someone in your class who's just constantly chatting, just all the time, if you're in somewhere where you're getting educated, you wouldn't tell that person to be quiet, you wouldn't tell them you got detention, you wouldn't tell them you're interfering with the learning, you wouldn't give them exclusion, you wouldn't get them in front of the principal. That's not what would happen. If you was getting educated properly, and it's all about bringing out, you would make the most of that. You would get them interested in careers where that's going to help them out. So a chat show host, a radio show host, a lawyer, someone who can think quickly on their feet, somebody who can do face-to-face sales. So that person, you'll tell them, come to the front, teach the class. I want you to go around the class and explain to everybody what they're supposed to be doing.